the 704 once again for episode 113 of the 815 Exchange. And well, welcome to October. Now, I'm not going to lie, it actually took me a minute. I can't believe we are already in October. I'm not going to lie, I thought it was like Saturday, for example. I was talking to one of my friends, shout out to Kobe. I was like, why are we wearing pink for the football game? Like, why we got all the pink like it's October, not knowing that it was October 1st and not September 20, whatever I thought it was. So, the time clock is still trying to adjust. I had a very busy week last week, but overall, it was a solid week, even though everything got canceled. Hopefully, everybody that's watching this dealing with Hurricane Ian, I wish you all the best. I hope, everything's going well. I've seen some people online that have been affected from it. It's just awful. Every time we get one of these natural disasters, it's always unfortunate. And just prayers and best wishes in terms of recovery down south and everybody dealing with the hurricane. So I know a lot of people lost power back home in Greensboro and also just kind of here in Charlotte. So we didn't have the worst of it, but I know some people were still affected. But hope for the best there. Another football heavy week. And I don't even just mean this football. In fact, the subsection this week is not the MLB, even though we're getting very close to the end. We had some couple teams clinch. Well, actually, no MLB. I feel like we talked about the MLB enough, and y'all have gotten enough of the MLB. So switch it up a little bit. Soccer's back. Champions League coming back this week. And we do have to talk about the Manchester Derby. All right, we have to talk about the Manchester Derby, so we'll be talking about that. And the entertainment segment, as always, of course, House of the Dragon, and I have plenty to talk about there. But as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. We are at 770, I believe. So 30 away from 800. Everything you're looking for is in the description, as always. So if you're looking for timestamps, you want to hear me talk about the NFL, hear me talk about them Cowboys, or Patrick Mahomes doing Patrick Mahomes things in the Sunday night game, feel free to skip ahead. Timestamps are provided in the description, as well as all my social medias, so you guys can follow me on all of my social medias. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get it. College football. And of course, we're going to talk about my dear old 49ers. Now, of course, I shouldn't have to tell you, we lost again this week. All right, we lost to UTEP 41-35. We have yet to win a home game in my senior year. It's just great, right? Hardison, went off versus us. 223 yards total, 3 touchdowns for Hardison, the quarterback for UTEP. He played great. Taylor for them, 3 sacks. They were getting the pass rush. But ultimately, what this game kind of came down to was a missed call and the fact that, once again, we have the worst defense in the FBS. One of these days, I'm going to statistically look up and confirm that we are the worst defensive team in the FBS. But I'm pretty confident that we are the worst defensive team in the FBS. I don't know if we've held anybody under 40 points this year. I'm not sure how our defensive coordinator has a job, even though straight up we just don't have the talent, but we also clearly don't have the coaching. So, UTEP scored at will in this game, did what they wanted to. Offensively, of course, we struck back. CR3 had 349 yards and 4 touchdowns. Elijah Spencer had 7 receptions, 116 and a touchdown. Offense did their thing. I can never really complain about the offense. CR3 is going to get his, it seems. Offense is going to do what they do. Grant Dubois had 2 touchdowns, I believe, as well. So shout out to Grant. And Grant we trust. But the defense continues to be an issue. But they held on. We got to, I think it was the 4th quarter, right? On the goal line, and could have made it a 1-possession game. This is what changed the game. Somehow, someway, we fumble on the 1-yard line. We get a big man touchdown for UTEP that you probably saw on the ESPN social media page. Puts the game away, you would think, but of course, this is Charlotte football, all of the chaos. We scored 2 touchdowns in a span of about 5 minutes. However, I had left the game at that point in time because I was like, all right, we're down by 20. I know this defense can't stop anybody to save their life. Thought they were going to drop 60, and that was that. So as soon as I get home, I see that the score is 41-35, which ended up being the final score. As UTEP managed to hold on, and we fall to 1-5. Are now not mathematically, but I'm just gonna say it. We're eliminated from bowl contention. We're not making a bowl. It was fun, It's a little bit sad though that the only bowl game that we went to in my entire college career here was the Bahamas Bowl. So I never got to see us play in a bowl game. Maybe one day, but certainly not anytime soon. Ole Miss in Kentucky. Let's talk about the national schedule now. As we had a bevy of ranked games and some interesting things happen. But yes, Ole Miss takes down Kentucky 22-19. Judkins. Now, I know Zach Evans was supposed to be the man. Jackson Dart was supposed to be the man. But the freshman running back Judkins has been the guy. And he was the guy in this game. 106 yards and a touchdown for Judkins. He was big time for Ole Miss in this game. They would get the win 22-19. Kentucky. Let's talk about it. Will Levis. Now, I saw everybody this entire offseason singing Will Levis's praises, talking about Will Levis as if he was the second best quarterback in the SEC. He was, a first rounder. He was this, he was that. And if you look at the box score, you'd be like, all right, wasn't too bad. He didn't play too bad of a game. Respectable passing stats, wasn't too bad. But when it mattered, and even though Levis did get injured in this game, got a dislocated finger, I don't know if he's going to be out for any point of time, but did get a dislocated finger. When it was time to show up, Will Levis was nowhere to be found. That's just how it is. When it was time to show up and it was time to make the plays you would expect a first rounder to make, Will Levis did not make those plays. And capped it off with a game-sealing fumble to end it. Kentucky is a solid team, but let's lessen on the hype. Let's lessen on the Levis hype. Ole Miss gets a good win. Lane Kiffin was fired up. They get the win at home as well. Had a pretty decent turnout. So, shout out to them. But, Judkins, he's that guy. Levis is not. Michigan takes out Iowa 27-14. Pretty relative Big Ten game. And about is what you would expect from a Michigan and Iowa game. Blake Corum. 133 yards and a touchdown. Blake Corum has absolutely, positively made a bid for best running back in college football. And I'm not sure, besides Bijan Robinson, I can really argue with that right now. He might be the second best running back in the country. It's 100 yards every week. It's multiple touchdowns every week. Just his play style, he can catch it out of the backfield. Corum is a problem. He is a problem. And that's going to be the key to stopping Michigan. Even though J.J. McCarthy, all the talent in the world, he's going to be a great quarterback one day, probably very, very soon. But if you want to beat this Michigan team, you absolutely have to find a way to contain Blake Corum. Because if he gets going, as he has seemingly every single game, and actually he has, no, not seemingly, he has every single game this season, there is no stopping this Michigan team. Corum 133, Ayabi Anomi, or Ayabi Oki, as he is now known, former number 4 player in the country, former Alabama, supposed starlet. He was supposed to be what Will Anderson is right now. Transferred, bounced around a little bit, went to UT Martin, ends up here at Michigan, and he shows up big time. Finally looks like the 5-star that he was supposed to be coming out of high school. He took over this game when that last possession gave Iowa all types of fits, and Michigan was able to get the win. TCU takes down Oklahoma. Now, as a USC fan, this was so sweet. Not that I have anything truly against Oklahoma, but my goodness, and I'm not saying it was all of you, but y'all talked crazy, and I get it. Lincoln Riley left in the middle of the night. Y'all were heartbroken, but my God, did y'all talk crazy. Oklahoma fans were talking crazy this whole season about the defense being fixed, about all of this, about this and that. And boy, oh boy, did it just go up in flames on Saturday. TCU gets it 55-24, and the game was not that close. Max Duggan had a Heisman-esque, now he's absolutely not a Heisman watch, but a Heisman-esque performance. 418 and 5 touchdowns. Max Duggan did what he wanted in this game. Miller with 136 and 2 touchdowns. Barber, 107 and a touchdown. Now, for Oklahoma, Javonte Barnes, even though most of it was in garbage time, did manage to get 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, shout out to Javonte Barnes. But Dylan Gable, before he got concussed, and, wishing him the best, showed why... Listen, I never got the dark horse. Once again, talking reckless. I don't know why some people thought Dylan Gable was this some type of, star quarterback. He's He's just as good as Caleb. There's not going to be any fall off. You know what? I'm glad we got Dylan. No, Dylan Gabriel was just, he's not that good. He's not that good. He's okay. He's mid. It's okay. Sometimes you can win with a mid quarterback. Unfortunately, Oklahoma cannot win with a mid quarterback because they could not win because they also have a mid to below average defense. Now, to be fair to BV, Venables does not have his guys in. All right, he's still working off of last year's scraps. Let's be honest. But nonetheless, for a team that was supposed to be transformed in physicality and we're going to take pride in defense and Oklahoma's going to be different this time. Old Oklahoma's coming back. It didn't look like that. It really didn't. Not to TCU. 55 points and it was 42 to 17, I think, after the first half. This was a butchering. A butchering. Oklahoma shouldn't even gotten a vote this week and they somehow managed to get 2. But I digress. TCU beats the brakes, as I always say, off of OU. Bama takes out Arkansas 49-26. We finally got to see Bryce Young and co. play somebody. All right, play somebody of any type of relevance. And they did what they always do to Arkansas. Of course, it was highly touted actually as Drew Sanders versus Will Anderson. Former roommates. Now the top 2 pass rushers possibly in the country. Let's see how they do. And both Will and Drew did their thing, but it wasn't really them. The big story, of course, ended up being JG himself, Jahmyr Gibbs. You knew it was coming. 206 total yards, 206 rushing. I think he had 226 total in 2 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs dominated this game. Absolutely no ifs, ands, or buts. Dominated this game. He ran wild on Arkansas, and they had no answer. Raheem Sanders also for Arkansas, 101 and a touchdown. But Jahmyr Gibbs ran wild. Now, Jalen Milroe had a fill-in because the big story, Bryce Young was injured in this game. Apparently, it's an AC joint sprain, I believe. That should put him out a couple weeks, which is important because they do play a certain team from Knoxville very, very soon. And that team is playing very well, and that could be a little bit of a problem, especially with how susceptible this Bama team is. Kobe Pretense had that one long catch, but otherwise, I'm going to be completely honest, the Bama receivers still are not it. However, like I said, Jahmyr Gibbs stepped up. Jalen Milroe stepped up big time in absence of Bryce. Handled business. It wasn't too much of a fall off there, so you'd like to see that in terms of the future if you're a Bama fan. And overall, defense did their job, held it down. And once again, you won by over 20 to Arkansas, who's a ranked team. All credit due. You earned that number 1 spot. Even though you don't want it, and even though you lost your Heisman winning quarterback, you still earned it. So you know what? I respect it. Bama back on top. Oklahoma State and Baylor, another ranked matchup. Spencer Sanders had the most Spencer Sanders game of all time, potentially. 256 yards total, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. The Spencer Sanders special. But you know what matters? What matters is that Oklahoma State Cowboys get the win. 36-25. So it worked out. Sanders got it done. Blake Shapen, 345, 2 touchdowns, but he did throw 2 costly interceptions. And my goodness, the Baylor defensive backs were on. We're getting tortured. They were getting dunked on all night. All day long. It didn't feel like 50-50 balls. It felt like more 80-20 balls between Oklahoma State's receivers and Baylor's defensive backs. It was ugly. All right, I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat it. It was ugly. All right, they were making every single 50-50 ball, and that ended up being the thing that kind of turned the game on its head because Oklahoma State can always count on getting that big play to put them ahead or keep that lead, and you know it paid off in the end. Oklahoma State gets a big win. Wake Forest takes out Florida State 31-21. Sam Hartman is still Sam Hartman. I know a lot of people, especially Desmond Howard, were calling Florida State the best team in the ACC, singing the Seminoles praises. They're back. Florida State's back. No, they're not. Wake Forest establishes themselves, I think, as the number 2 team in the conference. I know people will say Carolina, but we've seen Carolina be a little bit shaky. I'll give it to Wake because they played Clemson tough. 31-21. Hartman had 234 and 2 touchdowns. Ellison with 114 and 1. Travis, 281, 3 touchdowns. So, solid game from Jordan Travis, but wasn't enough. Pick 2. Hartman, like I said, the boy's a star, all right? He's got to be in ACC Player of the Year conversations. Probably end up alongside DJ. We'll see what happens there. But Wake Forest reestablishes himself. A good win on the road in Tallahassee. A nice reminder that, hey, you know, we're still a solid team. Give us our respect. In Florida State, better, not there yet. But certainly not Jacksonville State bad. Mississippi State takes out Texas A&M, who are sputtering on all facets. Will Rogers continues to thrive in Leach's kind of game plan scheme. 329 and 3 touchdowns for Will Rogers. Thomas with 5 receptions, 134 and a touchdown. Devon Achane, listen, how much longer can Achane carry this terrible, I won't call them terrible, but this, whatever you want to call this Texas A&M team, how much longer can he just keep carrying that offense? Hayes King is not him. Evan Stewart will be him one day, but the receivers aren't all quite there, even though I will give credit to Moose. 6 receptions, 119 and a touchdown. Max Johnson, who started this game for Texas A&M, had 203 and 2 touchdowns, wasn't a bad game overall, but this Texas A&M team is not there. Now, of course, they spent a bunch of money on recruits. They got the top recruiting class in their nation last year, and it was stacked. So a lot of their guys are very, very young. So we'll see in a year or two how they pan out. But for now, Texas A&M is still Texas A&M. They're not making that leap. This is not even last year's Texas A&M team with Kellen Mond. They're not that good. I know a lot of people were expecting this Texas A&M Alabama game this week to be this big, massive game after all the talk from both of the recruits and all the players. It's going to be a slaughter. It's going to be a slaughter. Texas A&M, now Jimbo shouldn't be on the hot seat, but Texas A&M just straight up not as good as we thought. Mississippi State, give some credit. Will Rogers has performed, seems to be one of the better quarterbacks I'd say in the country, and probably in that upper tier of SEC QBs. So I'll give him that credit. Give Leach the credit. Mississippi State thrashes A&M. Georgia hangs on for dear life against Mizzou, 26-22. It was it was a battle between kickers. All right, it was a battle between kickers. Paul Lesney hit 4 of them. Mevis hit 5 of them and hit a 58-yarder. So shout out to Harrison Mevis. But ultimately, Georgia was able to get it done late. Stetson able to get them down there, and they able to convert and finally score a touchdown in this game. It was an ugly game. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was a very, very ugly game for Georgia. And Mizzou has to feel they should have won this game after the way they started it and the way that this defense played. Because the defense played, they deserved it. But ultimately, Georgia found a way to win. And in this game of college football that we love so dear much, that's what the game is about. Finding a way to win, survive in advance. Bulldogs, no longer the number 1 team in the nation, but maybe that's better because ever since they got that number 1 spot, they haven't been the same. Clemson takes out State 30-20. DJU, all right. No more. No more Big Cinco slander. All right. He's taking a little bit of a jump. I'ma say it. Big Cinco is starting to play like the Big Cinco that we expected. All right. DJU is starting to play like the DJU we expected him to be. 282 and 3 touchdowns for him. He was the best player on the field. Straight up, he was the best player on this field. But I have to give some credit to that Clemson defense because they have risen to the occasion. They have risen to the occasion. KJ Henry, even without Breesy, Tyler David, they have risen to the occasion. Myles Murphy, Simpson. They were supposed to be one of the best defenses in the country, and they have been that. Despite people missing, despite injuries, it has not mattered. They have showed up, and I have to give them that credit. State, just not there yet. Still a solid team. I'd still say they're a top 25 team, but just not on that level. Clemson still reigns supreme in the ACC. And to end off before I run out of time here in this segment, USC takes out ASU 42-25. Caleb Williams, back on his Caleb Williams stuff, was a magician in this game. We're still shoddy. I want nothing to do with that playoff, but we are clearly better. 5-0 for the first time since 2006. Kentucky is ranked and UCLA is ranked. Basketball Blue Bloods are up. Kentucky is actually getting game day to go against undefeated TCU. So excited for everybody in Lawrence. First time I think they've ever been there. So shout out to Kentucky. UCLA, we'll see you when we see you. We probably won't still be undefeated like you guys, but we'll see what happens. All right, so let's kick it, right? Let's kick it. Listen, it's the soccer segment, but this is really the Manchester Derby segment, and I just wanted an excuse to talk about it. Because My. We talk about him every week. I mean, we literally talk about him every single week. And it's because he keeps doing something crazy every single week. Alright, Man City beats Man United in the Manchester Derby 6-3. Manchester is painted blue, like I said earlier this year, and it would be. Phil Foden, English wonderkid, scores a hat trick, but let's be real. He's not the one that's averaging or expected to score at this current rate, no exaggeration, on pace to score 60 goals this year in the Premier League. See, that belongs to one Erling Haaland. The machine is been unstoppable. All right, he is unstoppable. City is broken. City, they're broken. Not in like a bad, like, broken way, like in a Kendall Roy Succession broken way. I'm talking about City is broken in a they need to be nerfed. All right, Erling Haaland needs to be nerfed. He is a cheat code right now, and in this Man City team, now that they're starting to gel a little bit more, it's automatic. It's automatic. He is by far, I mean, it's not even close, the fastest man to bag what? Is that 3 or is it 2 hat tricks in the Premier League? I forget what that statistic was, but it was like him in 9 games and then Michael Owen in like 40 games. It was, or something ridiculous. He is, I mean, he is the best pure goal-scoring machine in the world today. I will give him that. I'm not going to say he's better than, Mbappe or go that far, but he is the best pure goal-scoring machine in the world today, and I can say that confidently, especially in this Man City team. He's going to score at will. I mean, at will. There's just nothing you can do. They have too many playmakers, and he is way too clinical, way too physically imposing, and he can score in every single way possible, and will try to score in literally every single way possible. He's the machine. Just completely unstoppable. Completely unstoppable. He was unplayable against United, and it's back-to-back hat tricks. Like I said, he's just there really are no more words. I mean, and credit to Foden because he played a great game too. I think Haaland also had an assist in this game, but it's absurd. It's absurd. Arsenal still top of the table, but make no mistake about it, Haaland and Man City are still top dogs in the Premier League. We'll see what happens because the machine has been unstoppable. We'll see if we're talking about another hat trick after Champions League this week, because yes, Champions League is back this week. Some big games that I noted on the week. We got Inter versus Barca. Should be interesting. Lautaro Martinez always doing bits for Inter, and of course they do have that man Romelu Lukaku back. Can Lua get it done in the Champions League as he has the past couple of years? Will that young Barca midfield make the stars shine? Can Fati make an impact? PSG also playing Benfica, which is probably one of the bigger games I'd say in their table. In terms of them needing to win and prove that they are not, fool's gold once again. And also just can Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi continue to dominate as they have in Liga and in the Champions League this year? They've been completely just that. There's been no answer for them. Mbappe scored, and I think Messi scored a free kick on the weekend. So, yeah, PSG has still been unstoppable. We'll see if Benfica can, make a little bit of changes and, of course, showcase some of that Benfica and Portuguese young talent, see if they can make a name for themselves in a very, very big game. But, yeah, highlighting those 2 games. But the Champions League is back. We'll talk about that next week. Now, entertainment. House of the Dragon. Let me take a breather. Because, boy, oh, boy, where do we start? Now that I've been able to collect my thoughts, me and my mother watch the show and we do a debrief, but now I've really gotten to collect my thoughts. And I want to say about House of the Dragon that ain't nobody, there is nobody in the show. Well, you know what, Helena's okay. Her and her bugs, she's fine, and she keeps having these dreams. She's a prophet. Please, somebody listen to Helena so y'all can maybe just know what's going on, know what's going to happen before it happens. But nonetheless, ain't nobody is anything in this show. Now, some people are a little bit better than others, but ain't nobody nothing in this show, man. We'll start off with my boy. All right, one of my favorite characters is Aemon Targaryen. And boy, oh boy, did Aemon Targaryen shine, as he's about to shine probably for the rest of the series in the show. Shout out to Leo Ashton because he was a phenomenal young actor playing the role of Aemon. And listen, Amon didn't do anything wrong in this episode. Now I know Team Team Black is up in arms and they're like, oh, he stole. First off, can't steal a dragon, alright? And spoilers on all this. I'm not going to spoil anything for the future, but spoilers. You can't steal a dragon. You cannot steal a dragon. The dragon, it's a mutual thing, alright? He can go up to the dragon, but Vhagar, like Vhagar almost was about to before Vhagar obeyed, could have killed him. Could have killed him. If Vhagar didn't want to be ridden by Amon, Vhagar would have gotten rid of him. But please believe. Please believe. So Amon didn't do anything wrong. Alright? Rhaena, love her to death, but she is absolutely not entitled to that dragon. Even though it was her mother's, and I understand where she's coming from, you were not entitled to that dragon. If you wanted the dragon, you should have went up to the dragon. Amon saw an opportunity, he took it. It was fair game. He didn't do nothing wrong there. Number 2, when y'all decided to jump him, he didn't throw the first punch. He said some nasty things, but y'all been bullying him all his life. Alright? So when he came back and answered, now that he's got his dragon and y'all can't say nothing crazy, and y'all wanted to throw hands, that was on y'all. And he was beating y'all before y'all went and grabbed the knife. I don't think he was going to hit them with the rock, by the way, because he also dropped the rock, which I don't think a lot of people are noticing. He dropped the rock, so I don't think he was actually going to bash his cousin's face in. I think that was definitely more of a veiled threat. Anyways, he gets his nickname, and he gets that legendary eye patch, so now you get to see Aemon Targaryen and all of his greatness in the upcoming episodes. But yeah, Aemon was fantastic in this episode. Rhaenyra even though the show is definitely trying to paint her in a much more heroic light than she probably really is in the actual books and narrative, she's still a scumbag. Just recklessly entitled. I mean, recklessly entitled. It's ridiculous. It's turning me off. I know a lot of people are riding with her, and I think that's a lot to do with who her great, I don't even know what Daenerys would be her, but a lot of people are trying to see her as Daenerys and trying to ride with her because they think she's not Daenerys. She's not even close to Daenerys, even though she's closer to season 8 Daenerys, but she's not Daenerys. She's not some liberator. She's not some hero. Really, nobody is in this story, but definitely not Rhaenyra. She once again was scummy as usual, but you know what? I respect it. She was playing the game at the end, and of course that was huge. Even though it's a little bit of a weird situation, keeping Laena alive, even though it was the right choice to make, schematically. But I don't understand how it's going to work with Sea Smoke because dragons, the psychic link, and, they can't take another rider until the rider's dead. Now, I'm guessing maybe they're going to kill Laena off screen, and then maybe that's how Sea Smoke is able to come back. I don't know, but they're going to have to figure that out. But, yeah, Rhaenyra, grimy. I mean, Daemon, but it's Daemon. We kind of expected. But your wife's funeral, and then you sleep with your niece. Just Targaryen things. Just Targaryen things. Of course, Corlys is obsessed with legacy. I mean, obsessed with legacy. And Rhaenys is kind of over it. Let's be real. Rhaenys is over it. She was like, those our grandsons are not our grandsons. It's just, yeah. She's over it, but, she's here for the ride. I feel bad, and that was great acting by Eve Best in the end, because now it feels like they've lost both of their children, because Laena just sailed away, and of course Laena died the episode before. So, down bad in the Valyrian household. We'll see what happens to the two daughters, seeing as they are now step-siblings with their soon-to-be betrothed. And like I said, Daemon and Rhaenyra hooking up and then getting married right after your wedding. It's so grimy. Larry's grimy. Otto is back. Otto literally the first second Otto came back, he was back on being a menace. Just the first episode, just grimy. But yeah, the battle lines have been drawn. Viserys is still a hilariously weak king, a good man, but a weak king, and his body is failing him more than it has ever been. Shout out to Orwell for keeping him alive somehow, because I do not know how. But yeah, House of the Dragon is still the best show on television. Last time jump we will be seeing. So yeah, get used to the characters now, because this is what they're going to be. Aemon Targaryen supremacy. Sorry for the wait, alright? Everybody's favorite villain, going from a show of villains to one of the biggest villains in the rap and music industry currently, is Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez is also a very, very talented musician. He dropped the album Sorry for the Wait, and I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what I'm going to give. I'm gonna give it an 8.8. I'm going to give it an 8.8 for now. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'll stick with an 8.8. Because I could see it hopping in that higher tier of album, but I can also see it sitting in this kind of 8 range, but towards the higher end of 8s. Because it was once again a very good album. The man just, there was not a single song that I listened off of first listen and I was like, you know what, this is trash, or I wasn't really rocking with it. Every single song on a 20-song album, that is a remarkable feat. Now, I don't know if I liked it as much as Alone at Prom, or, we'll see where it falls, but Hennessy Memories was fire, and I'm sure that's not the only standout that will kind of pop up for me, but yeah, Tory, we'll see what happens in terms of, like, the legal stuff, and, if he did what he's being alleged to have done, then I will delete all of his music, but for now, he can't, he's the man, he's got the Midas touch right now, so, yeah. Shout out to Tory, Sorry for the Wait, I would highly recommend it. It's another great album from him. Also, Kid Cudi dropped Intergalactic. I have not gotten around to it. I know he also dropped a show. A lot of people were raving about it, so I'll try to get around to it, but no review on that. Freddie Gibbs also dropped the album. I'm not sure how that went, but Freddie usually has pretty high quality stuff. So you guys can let me know how you felt about Cudi and Freddie. But yeah, Tory, I'll give the co-signing once again. House of the Dragon, best show on television. Now, you know what time it is. I don't even need to say it. It is time for the NFL. And we kicked it off Thursday with the controversy, of course, because we cannot have peace. Because, of course, we cannot have peace. And I'm glad that the person responsible in this, or at least one of them, has now been fired. Cincinnati gets the win 27-15, but of course the big story was Tua's injury, or second concussion. I do not know why the Miami Dolphins decided to throw away their season, for apparently no reason. Tua, last Sunday, was clearly concussed. Somehow he passes the test, whatever. They decide to play him again against the Bengals. He takes a hit, hits his head, and then he hits the fencing response, which is why his hands were all put into like gang signs as they were described, right? It's a fencing response. If you're a combat sports fan, you know what it is. Nerves in your joints lock up when you get knocked out. That's what happened. Very, very scary situation for anybody that is not familiar with that, and just an overall situation, because like Chris Nowinski said on Twitter, getting 2 concussions in less than a week can be deadly. So, yeah, again, don't know why Miami decided to throw away their season. Because first off, let's talk about it. It's week 4. It's week 4. You're 3-0. You just beat the Bills, who's the other top team in your division. Even if you lose this game, which you did, it's not the end of the world. You still, look, you sat Tua, you let him recover, he's back next week, y'all can get back in the rhythm and continue seeing if you can surge this momentum. But instead, you decide to play your franchise quarterback recklessly, and now he's probably out for the season. You're under a bunch of scrutiny, people are having to be fired, you're going to get sued by probably multiple people for quite a bit of money. And it's just a bad look on the NFL as a whole, all because you decided to play your franchise quarterback in a meaningless, ultimately, Thursday night game, in which was not necessary. Do not understand the decision-making behind that, but yeah, the Dolphins will now be the Dolphins and, fall back to mediocrity because of, bad, just poor decisions. Poor decisions. Since he did what they were supposed to do, T. Higgins has been a menace. And, yeah, they get the win, but, prayers up for Tua, which is just, it's a situation he should have been put in. You're a doctor. You have to have a spine. I don't care if they're, like, threatening your job or whatever pressure. It's better for you to lose your job trying to do the right thing, for you to lose your job almost killing the franchise quarterback. But go off. Go off. Vikings take out the Saints 28-25. This was a 9:30 game. I'm not sure why this was a 9:30 game. I'm trying to remember if this was... Oh, yeah, it was in England. By the way, okay, there we go. It was in London, right? Because Harry Kane and Spurs, I think it was at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as well. So, yeah, another London game. London game. Vikings get the win. Like I said, off of a double doink. A classic double doink. Not the Bears this time, it was the Saints. But nonetheless, the Vikings able to hold on and win. Will Lutz with the double doink after 60 points. Well, excuse me, not 60. A 60-yard field goal he hit in this game, by the way. So, not going to put all this on Lutz. Not all his fault. Greg Joseph, 47-yarder. Just huge. Huge game for the kickers. Huge game for the kickers late. And, yeah, he's able to get it done. Let me get back to the Gamecast. Almost had a sneeze. Jettas with 10 receptions, 147. Kirk Cousins, 273 and a touchdown. Andy Dalton filled in this week and was solid. Honestly, can't complain. But nonetheless, Vikings get it done late. Falcons in the Browns. A lot of people actually had the Browns winning this game. Guys, it's the Browns. It's the Browns. It's still the Browns. Nick Chubb is a beast. Don't get me wrong. 118 and a touchdown for Chubb in this game. But it's the Browns, all right? Marcus Mariota played terribly, and they still won, all right? Listen, the Browns are going to be the Browns. The Falcons probably didn't even want to win this game because they probably want to get either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud next year. But nonetheless, they did win this game at home and get a nice little home win. But, yeah, if you were looking for quarterback play, look away because this was not the game for it. The Cowboys take out the Washington Commanders. All right, I'm still getting used to the name. Brett Maher hit like 50 field goals in this game. Yeah, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4 field goals for Brett Maher. So shout out to him, MVP of the game. And the defense. Let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about them Cowboys. Because I've been humbled. I've been very, very humble, especially since Dak got hurt. I've been very cool, very composed. I haven't said too much. But I'm going to talk, all right? The defense has been fantastic. I couldn't be more proud. Trevon Diggs playing better. Micah Parsons is a menace. The linebacker corps is showing. Everybody's showing up defensively. I cannot complain. We haven't given up more than 19 points this entire season. It's been great. The defense is winning us games, and I can't remember the last time I ever said that about the Cowboys in terms of the defense winning us games. So, like I said, I'll take it. Cooper Rush, once again, has been a great fill-in for Dak Prescott. 15 for 27, 223, and 2 touchdowns for this game. He's not turning the ball over, and that's what's most important. Even more than any yardage, a touchdown, or any telepathic link he seems to have with CeeDee Lamb, who nearly had another 100-yard game. 6 receptions, 97, and 1 touchdown for CD, and with Noah Brown. But he's not turning the ball over. He's doing what's necessary, and the defense is helping us win the games. And, yeah, that bodes well. That bodes well for when we get our franchise quarterback. But, yeah, I'm glad for the defense. Glad for Cooper Rush. And, yeah, glad to be a Cowboys fan. Weird thing to say. The Seahawks take out the Lions in the highest scoring game this year. Who would have thought? The Lions, without Amon-Ra St. Brown, without Devontae Swift, and the Seahawks with, just being the Seahawks, combined for the highest scoring game. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? TJ Hawkinson saved, or nearly saved, or actually he did, ended up saving my fantasy team. Just out to Hawk, he had 8 receptions, 179, and 2 touchdowns. Rashard Penny, however, was a demon. All right, he was a demon for the Seahawks. 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf had 7 receptions, 149. Geno Smith went for over 300 yards. Looked like he was back in West Virginia. We're not going to talk about the defense because the defense was non-existent. But Jared Goff went 378, 4 touchdowns. Looked like the number 1 overall pick he was supposed to be. Jamal Williams filling in for Swift had 108 and 2 touchdowns. It was an insane game. Probably one of the best games, probably the best game of the week in terms if you're a neutral and you were just watching, to be honest. But, yeah, thrilling game. Seahawks get it done 48-45. But, yeah, I'd say, if my opinion, game of the week. Shout out to the Lions and the Seahawks. Titans, able to get back on track. They take out the Colts, who we need to have a conversation. We need to have a conversation. The Colts are bad. Not like they're bad and, they're just not a playoff. They are bad. Like, top 5 pick bad. Maybe even top 3 at this point. The Colts are not a good team. This is a game you should have won, and they just, blew it. Blew it. Mo Ali Cox was the only shining star in this game for the Colts. He goes for 85 yards, 6 receptions, and 2 touchdowns. But otherwise, this was all Titans. Derrick Henry did Derrick Henry things. 114 and touchdown. A nice return to form for the King. Ryan Tannehill, 17 for 21, 137, 2 touchdowns. Tannehill did what he needed to do. Hand the ball off, not turn it over. High completion percentage. Perfect game. In Titans fans' eyes, perfect game from him. You can't complain. The defense showed up. And like I said, Jonathan Taylor held to only 42 yards. The Colts are not good. They are not good this year. The Giants take out the Bears, another team that is not very good, but somehow 2-2, despite their best wishes to not be 2-2. However, the Giants are 3-1, so gotta give some credit there. Saquon Barkley is still, in fact, back. That was not a fluke. It has not been a fluke. Saquon is in fact back. 146 yards rushing for Saquon. He also had that insane, by the way. I don't know if that, or maybe that was the 15-yard reception. Anyways, where he caught the screen and then got like turned around and spun around and got actually that may have been a run. But anyways, Saquon has been terrific this year for the Giants. He's been leading the charge as he was going to need to be. A lot of people have criticized, especially after the injuries after the first season, the Offensive Rookie of the Year season. A lot of people have criticized the Giants for picking him, but right now, 3-1, he's been the guy, arguably the best running back in the league this year. So no complaints I'd say from Giants fans right now, but they take out the Bears 20-12. The Eagles and the Jaguars played in a monsoon. And it had the worst of effects on Trevor Lawrence. Because as great as Trevor Lawrence has been the past couple weeks, he came back down to earth. All right. After he became Offensive Player of the Year last week. A nightmarish game. A nightmarish game for TL. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 turnovers, including 4 fumbles, all of them lost. That ended up pretty much costing the Jaguars the game because they only lost 29-21. So, nightmare game from Trevor. The loss is on him, let's be real. But, I wouldn't say it's the end of the world. The conditions weren't great, but, you got to have better ball speed. 4 fumbles is insane. All right, that's wild. Miles Sanders, 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was great in this game. Hurts wasn't great. But like you said in the post-presser, it was a good team win. It was a good overall team win. The Eagles go to 4-0. Jaguars, I think they'll be all right. As long as they don't play in, I guess, a monsoon. And, Trevor's just got to have short-term memory. Probably one of the worst games of his career, but you know what? It is what it is. You're still 2-2, a lot better than a lot of people thought you would be. And you were competitive. Nonetheless, a game that you can say you probably should have won under dry conditions. Who knows? Maybe they do win, but the Eagles get the win this week. The Jets take out the Steelers. Kenny Pickett finally gets put in. And, he threw 3 picks, all right? And all 3 of his incompletions, by the way. He went 10 for 13. All 3 of the incompletions were the interceptions. 2 of them I won't fault. 1 of them I will. But overall, not a bad debut for Pickett, even though the stat line might say otherwise. But overall, it wasn't a bad debut. But ultimately, they just weren't good enough. Minkah Fitzpatrick is good enough, and I'm not sure if the Steelers deserve him right now. But just they weren't good enough, and Breece Hall seals the deal, gets the game winner with 16 seconds to go. He's been great this year as a rookie running back. Definitely been the back that I think this Jets team needed in a sense. But Jets found a way to win, got it done late. Steelers just welcome to the rebuild. That's the best thing I can say to y'all. Welcome to the rebuild. Enjoy it. I think Pickett will be solid. I think he'll shake off the 3 picks. And hopefully that's not a continued thing, but I can't really fault him. Solid debut, just got it done. The Bills take out the Ravens. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. As much as we've sang Lamar Jackson's praises, I have to get on him. I have to get on my boy. 2 picks in this game and a costly pick late is killer. And Baltimore cannot keep losing these games where they jump on opponents and it's like, y'all should be in control. Finish the game. Baltimore's problem this year has been they have not finished the game. They have not played 2 halves of football yet. And when they play 2 halves of football, they might be able to, sneak. We'll start to get closer to that contenders tier. But until the Baltimore Ravens prove that they can play 2 halves of football and not just 1, they're pretenders. Put them in that pretenders lot. Lamar has been great. He was not great in this game. The Bills defense showed up big time. And the Ravens defense, for all the flack that I've given them this year, they showed up as well. But like I said, it just wasn't enough. They gave Josh Allen time. He made him pay. Tyler Bass had a chip in to win the game. Bills get the win on the road. Marcus Peters going at Harbaugh, and then honestly, some of the fight needs to go to Harbaugh. Even though I like Harbaugh as a coach, they have not been able to finish. Have not been able to finish. Nobody likes anybody. Nobody likes a man that can't finish, you know? So, we'll see if Baltimore can get it back on track, but Buffalo gets a much-needed win this week. The Chargers take out the Texans, who are, again, actually by record, I think they are, unless somebody's 0-4. Somebody might be 0-4. But, Texans, hilariously bad as expected. The Chargers get the win, though, 34-24. Austin Eckler was on his worst behavior, 60 yards rushing, 49 yards receiving, and 3 touchdowns total. You'll love to see it because my fantasy team absolutely did. Jay Herbo played 340, 2 touchdowns. Ribs didn't give him too much of an issue, but then again, they were playing the Texans, so let's be real here. Mike Williams, once again, was fantastic. 7 receptions, 120. Stepping up as Keenan Allen was out as that number 1 receiver. Wasn't too much of a fall-off. Defense did their thing, had 4 sacks, even without Joey Bosa being out for, I think, 8 to 10 weeks. 8 to 10 weeks. Texans, Davis Mills continues to be solid. Damian Pierce played his best game of the season, but like I said, it's not their year, and we really shouldn't expect much from the Texans. But the Chargers do their thing; they get the job done. They get a win to bring them back to 500. The Cardinals take out the Panthers 26-16. Another team that is just hilariously bad, unfortunately, is the home team, the home team here in Charlotte. The Carolina Panthers lose yet again. What a story. Kyler, 2 touchdowns, 207 and a pick. Baker Mayfield has not been the answer. It's looking like everything we've said about Baker Mayfield just not being that guy has become true this year. Everything we've said about Baker in terms of just not being the guy has been exactly right. He is yet to prove us wrong. Yet to prove us wrong this season, and I'm not sure if he is. But anyways, Cardinals get the win 26-16. Panthers continue to swim in the pit of misery. The Packers take out the Patriots in overtime. Aaron Rodgers finally starting to look like Aaron Rodgers again. It took a while, but we're getting there. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. 251 and 2 touchdowns for Rodgers in this game. Aaron Jones had it going, 110 yards for him. Allen Lazard had the best game of the season. And of course, I think I benched him this week. I don't know for sure. I'll check. I might have started Allen. I'm not sure. But it's I'm expecting he's the one that's expected to step up as that number 1 receiver in Devontae Adams' absence. And he did that in this game. So we'll see if he can keep that going forward. Damian Harris. He's the best offensive weapon they got in New England. And he was the best offensive weapon in this game. 86 yards and a touchdown. Bailey Zapp wasn't bad. Shout out to Western Kentucky. But, the Patriots, not anything crazy. Packers are not as good as they've been in the past. Even going to overtime against this New England Patriots team is a little bit concerning. But they're playing a little bit better. I will give them that. They're playing a little bit better. Rough start to the season, but at the end of the day, they're 3-1. That's all that matters. The Broncos take the L to the Raiders, 32-23, and give Vegas their first win. That Vegas defense stepped up big time. That pick 6 ended up looming large. Josh Jacobs gets the go-ahead with 202 remaining in the game. By the way, Jacobs for the day, 144 and 2 touchdowns. Best game of the season for Josh Jacobs. We're saying that about a lot of players that have struggled, a lot of stars that struggled early on this season. Finally had their breakout game here in week 4. Josh Jacobs is one of them. Devontae Adams goes over 100 yards. Carr finally found that balance. Still wanted him to do a little bit more, but he didn't do too much. Didn't force the issue as much as he has in the past couple weeks, and it made for a better game overall for the Raiders. Like I said, the defense stepped up. Russ still got his, 237, 3 touchdowns total. But when your leading receiver had 1 reception for 55 yards, that's going to be a problem. The Broncos still haven't figured it out. We'll see if they can. A lot of people thought they were going to be, possibly a dark horse. I didn't see it. In fact, I thought the Raiders might be a dark horse, and I was wrong about that. So we'll see. We'll see where this game kind of takes these two teams and, what kind of goes from here, as they're kind of stuck in this unknown. Both of them, Vegas and Denver, are kind of stuck in this unknown. Even after this game, I don't really know which way the momentum is going to shift for either of these teams, but the Raiders get their first win of the season nonetheless. And to end us off on Sunday Night Football, Mahomes versus Brady, and the Buccaneers are not looking like a Super Bowl contender, and that's me being generous. The Chiefs get the win 41-31. These two teams seem to always play in some very, very good games. Mahomes was Mahomes, 249 and 3 touchdowns. CEH has been who we expected CEH to be out of college, and not who he was last year, 92 yards and a touchdown for CEH. Kelsey continues to be Kelsey, 92 yards, 9 receptions, and a touchdown. And the Chiefs are in bliss. They're in bliss, a good recovery this week. Both of the top two teams, I guess according to power rankings, recovered this week. The Bills after their loss. The Chiefs a little bit better, much so against a much better team than, of course, the Bills played. But nonetheless, nice to see both of them get back on track. Tom Brady played phenomenally. 39 for 52, 385 and 3 touchdowns for the GOAT. But it wasn't enough because they had a mere 3 yards rushing. 1, 2, 3. You cannot win a game. I don't even care if it's 2022 and we're past that. You cannot win a game if you're rushing for 3 yards. You just can't. You just can't. As great as Brady was, Mike Evans returned for 8 receptions, 103, and I think 2 touchdowns himself. Even with, that was not enough. It's not enough. 3 yards rushing, unacceptable. Shout out to the Chiefs defense. Shout out to Mahomes. Chiefs prove that they are still amongst the elite. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the Roundup, which is really just a racing segment this week. Starting with F1 in Singapore. Checo gets his 2nd win of the season, and I think moves ahead of Leclerc. Don't quote me on that. Into 2nd, even though they're pretty much virtually tied. But yeah, Checo wins in Singapore, an exhaustingly long race that they had to put a time limit on. Yeah, it was just long and humid and grueling, and the drivers were exhausted. Max had an awful day, but it didn't matter. Red Bull continues to get closer and closer to that constructor's title. Ferrari actually didn't mess up, so you know what? I'm proud of them. Leclerc gets 2nd. I think Carlos got 3rd, so they got 2 of the 3 on the podium. But you want wins. You do want wins, especially after Charles started on pole. But nonetheless, Checo gets the win. Max struggles a little bit. Alonso had to DNF. Lewis ran into the wall, cost himself probably a podium. But yeah, shout out to Checo. 2nd win of the season for him. And in Talladega, once again, restrictor plate racing. You know I love it. Always an exciting finish. And we had another one here in Talladega. Chase Elliott with the move of his life. With 2 laps to go, goes up top, then gets the run. Shout out to McDowell. I mean, what a push for Michael McDowell. A lot of credit has to be given to him. And yeah, Chase takes the lead. He holds on. But like I said, just an incredible, incredible move. If you can find a replay of those last 2 laps, I would highly encourage it because it was just special driving from probably the best driver on the best stock car driver. I won't call him the best driver in the world. I know a lot of people, might hand that off to Max Verstappen, and understandably so. But I'd say the best stock car driver probably on the planet right now, Chase Elliott, doing Chase Elliott things at Talladega. And now he gets to go to the Charlotte Oval where he's won before this coming week, which I will be at. I will be at the Charlotte Oval, so yeah, we'll talk about that next week. But for now, I hope you guys enjoyed. That was episode 113. The machine is still a machine. Interesting developments in football. Chase doing his stuff. Checo wins. House of Dragons is the best show on television. And I hope you guys enjoyed. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, show signing off.